Hello and welcome back to another episode of Conquering My Collection. In this video I'm going to be talking about another Eureka Masters of Cinema release. This is spine number 153. The film was from 2015 and was made in Japan from the Japanese director Naomi Kawase Sweet Bean. And I'm not sure that there's like another version of the title that's just reads Anne. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's like the original title. It's just Anne or An, maybe that would be the pronunciation. But yeah, Sweet Bean. So there's an interesting story about this one because I didn't plan on watching this anytime soon. And I got a message from Connie asking me, have you seen this film? And it was a screenshot of Google with the poster of this, and it was the film Sweet Bean. And I'm like, no, I haven't seen it. And she's like, oh, a friend of mine recommended it to me. And I'm like, So then I got back from work and I just walked downstairs and I just went, there you go. She said, oh, you've seen it? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen it, but I would like to see it. So if you'd like to watch it with me, that would be great. So it's not often that a Masters of Cinema film is something that Connie would watch with me, let alone suggest watching. But, you know, she loves Japan. She lived there for a while. And so, you know, she's more inclined to watch Japanese films for sure. So this film, made in 2015, stars the great Kirin Kiki as one of the main characters. And it's about this guy whose name is Sentaro, I believe, played by Masatoshi Nagase. And yeah, just want to make sure that I get the characters' names right and the cast members right, because I don't want to get that wrong. Yes, Sentaro, played by Masatoshi Nagase. And I want to get the other actress's name right too, because there's an interesting bit of trivia surrounding this that I found really interesting, actually, which makes me enjoy the film even more. And I like that. I like that when a bit of trivia about a film kind of enhances my experience, but it doesn't quite say in the booklet here. So Wakana is so we have the. I've even talked about, like, okay, Sentaro is a guy who runs a very small food stall that sells. I've already forgot what they call. I watched it a couple of weeks ago, to be fair. What was it called? There's a certain food, like a snack, that he makes in this this stall. This paste. There's a paste. Yes. What's it called though? There's like a dorayaki. Is it dorayaki? Let me see. Maybe it's on the back. I'm sure it's on the back. Struggling street food vendor Sentaro. It doesn't say. I think it's dorayaki. I'm just going to go with that. It seems right to me. But it's like a pancake or two pancakes with this sweet red bean paste inside. So he gets the red bean paste, and then he fries the pancakes and then puts the paste inside the pancakes. So he just runs a very simple life. He's not very personable. He just does his job, and that's it. And then this old woman turns up. And she says, I heard that you've been looking for some part-time work, and there's no age limit. And I'm, 70 odd. Would you agree to me to kind of come and work for you? And he's like, oh, I think, maybe this isn't for you and all of that. And she's like, well, I'll take a pay cut then. Like, I'll get paid like nothing, pretty much, just to do this job. And again, he's like, no, I don't think so. So she leaves. And then she comes back and she has her own red bean paste that she's made. And he's like, again, he's very standoffish. He's very cold and, not very receptive to this woman at all. And this woman's name is Tokyo. Yeah, I don't know the Japanese pronunciation, but Kirin Kiki plays this character, and she was a brilliant actress. She passed away a couple of years ago, sadly, and she's in many of Hirokazu Koreeda's films. Great actress, and one of the reasons I was looking forward to really watching this film was just the fact that she was in it. And the Sentaro, he tastes her bean paste, and he realizes, oh, this is really good. This is really good. And so the next time she comes over, he agrees for her to come in and make the red bean paste. And she's like stunned to realize that he actually just buys factory-made bean paste. He doesn't make it himself. So she shows him how to make the best red bean paste for this snack, the dorayaki, I think. And it's great, and business starts picking up. But I liked how it wasn't really about the business succeeding, or it wasn't like they became a huge, massive success. It just, business picked up a little bit. But it's really about the interpersonal relationships between Sentaro, Kirin Kiki's character, and then Wakana, who is this high school girl. So you have these three characters. And I'd say the young girl maybe isn't in it enough. Maybe she needed a little bit more screen time, perhaps, to kind of really connect those three characters together. It really is about those three characters and how they help each other a little bit. And I felt like the young girl's storyline was a tad bit undercooked, but not hugely. And the interesting fact for me, the bit of trivia that I mentioned earlier, is that the actress who plays Wakana is Kiara Uchida, and she is actually the real-life granddaughter of Kira and Kiki. So, and this is one of the only movies that she's done. So it was like a nice, sweet thing where like she got to act with her grandmother, who was like this acting legend, you know. What a cool thing. And here's the director on the back of the booklet, Naomi Kawase. I really got into this film. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a redemption arc movie of sorts for the character of Sentaro, and about him coming out of his shell and this old woman kind of you know, being his Yoda for a little bit in terms of the, you know, the red bean paste and everything. And also about him just becoming more of a normal person again. He'd gone through some stuff, and I appreciate how it wasn't dragged up too much. Like, we didn't get this big drawn out explanatory scene where he's like, well, it all goes back to this time where this happened and that happened. He mentions things that happened, but we don't get like the full blow by blow. So you have to kind of piece some of that together in your head, and I like that. I appreciated that. I did feel like there is an emotional release to this character towards the end where it's all building up, and then like the cap gets kicked off at the end, near the end, and it's really powerful and impactful, and made me well up. And I thought, wow, that was really a really touching performance and a great way to evolve that character. But then they go to that well one more time towards the end again. And I felt like they've kind of used up that moment, if that makes sense, even though it does make sense within the context of the story, why he kind of had this emotional reaction to something and then withdrew a little bit more, and then had another emotional reaction a little bit later on. But I felt like they could have held that off even further, maybe, and it could have been even more impactful. But otherwise, I thought that it was a brilliant film, a lovely film, just a really like a cozy movie. You know, it reminded me a little bit of Kamame Diner, Seagull Diner, by Naoko Ogigami. Just about these people who make food together, and kind of the joy and the kind of the process of the making of the food and how sacred it is, and a lot of attention is paid to the food in this. But I really loved Kieran Kiki's character. The way she performed it was so playful, and I think this is a great reason, not great reason. I guess I should say that it was a great outcome of watching the film with Connie. And it wasn't a reason that I was like, oh, we should watch this with Connie because she'll understand things more. But a great outcome of watching this with Connie was that while the film was going on, she's saying, oh, Sentaro, he's not addressing those people politely enough. Like, he's being very informal with his customers, and you wouldn't really see that in Japan, to the point where that then makes an added layer of the story where Japanese viewers would be like, oh, there's something not quite right with him. He's not being as polite as he should be. And that is kind of ringing off alarm bells very soon. And then when he speaks to Kieran Kiki, he's being informal again, not as polite. But after he tastes the red bean paste and he realizes that she's got something there, she turns up again, and Connie's like, oh, he's being formal with her now. He's being respectful in the way that he speaks to her. And then she said, oh, wait, no, he isn't. He's kind of going back and forth. So apparently there's a lot of like elaborate kind of shifts in dialect and meaning from just the intonations and the way that people speak in Japan that English speakers just would not get. So that was a good outcome of watching the film with Connie, was being able to be informed of some of those nuances that I found were really interesting. But Kieran Kiki, I love where her character went. And it was strange to me because, you know, she's great in films like Still Walking and most recently in Shoplifters. And in Shoplifters, she looks like almost a different person. She looks like 20 years older almost. No teeth, and, you know, it's just her face looks different because without the dentures, you know. And in this film, she has her teeth. And so I'm like, why, she just looks so much younger with a full set of teeth, you know? And then towards the end of this, we see her without the teeth, and it's like, ah, there we go. And now she looks so much older, and even the way she was performing without the teeth, it was a very interesting way to use it. I almost wonder if Koreeda had seen this and gone, ooh, when she takes her teeth out, she looks so much older, and that really leans into feeling sympathetic towards her. I wonder if I could use that. I don't know. Maybe that's just me thinking too much into it, but when you see her towards the end of the film without her teeth in, it almost feels like the the vitality of her character has diminished somewhat. Not in a sad way, but in kind of a, you know, that's the way of life way. Like it's been a while. They haven't seen her for a while, and when she has the teeth, she explains it like my dentures are off being fixed, and she has like one tooth that kind of shows. This is a very interesting look when she doesn't have the teeth in, and it just makes her seem much more older, and I don't know. There's a different feeling to it. I don't know, and I just loved how it showed that this very, meaningless almost job to some people, for this character, this woman, was almost everything. And there's a great moment where something is happening between these characters. And in a normal movie, I feel like, I don't want to say normal movie, but in like an American movie perhaps, a lesser movie, I will say, no, not that's even bad. I love melodrama. I don't mind when films are very explicit about the emotions, but I think it's better when you don't go into that sort of thing where in a American movie, for example, a scene that I'm talking about in this film would be very much more like the characters would be like, okay, this is what's happening now, and I just want to tell you this, and it's a bit emotional, but I just want to tell you this because this is what's happening. And there's a way to make that work. But in this film, the scene plays out where it's like, all right, I'm just going to leave, and there's this and that and that. But even though they're saying something completely unrelated, you can tell that when they're saying that, they mean something else, and that there is this inherent understanding between these two characters that goes beyond what's being said. And even without understanding the language, I understood that. And just the way that even the editing was working and holding on a certain shot, I realized, this is something different. This changes the context of this discussion between the two, or this interaction between the two, because of the way that it's shot, the way that this shot is being held, and the way that she's saying things, but her body is acting differently. The body language is telling a different story. Fucking genius storytelling. Absolutely, I love that. I can see that shot vividly in my mind because it had such an impact on me, because I'm like, that was such a great way to do it. And I know I'm being very vague, and I'm sorry about that, but I want to do it without spoilers. But it's not much of a spoiler, but it's this, it's this scene where it marks an end point between this relationship into a different stage of the relationship between the two characters. And again, in lesser films, that shift in the relationship would be stated outright, maybe for fear of an audience not understanding what it means, but also just to kind of maybe eke out more emotion. Whereas here it's like, it's more human. You have those moments between people where you kind of get that, okay, something else is going on here. We both know it. We're not going to say it, but we understand. And the nod of the head, and okay, And I would even say the scene I'm talking about isn't even reciprocated. I think that the one side of those two characters is trying to say something else, or is meaning something else, or is thinking and feeling something else. And because we're seeing it from a certain perspective, we understand it, even if the other character doesn't. So there's just these really subtle moments that really worked well. I loved seeing the cherry blossoms in the film. They're just beautiful. They're not in the film enough, but it really nicely marks a passage of time. So the film takes place over a year, and there's nothing to really explain that other than the movie begins and it's the cherry blossoms are out, and then stuff happens in the story, and at the end of the film the cherry blossoms are out again. And I loved the ending. The ending was so good. It was so satisfying, so well done, so tastefully executed, and just a really great cap to the story. And ultimately, unlike some Japanese films I have seen where they lean too much into the emotional stuff and it goes overboard, this one really just kept things really nicely compact, I think. I don't know, I just love the way that it was handled. And I do wish that the character of Wakana, I think, the young girl, I think she could have been weaved into the story even better than she was. But she is very good. But it's mainly about the other two. It's about the Kieran Kiki's character and Centaur. Great performances by those two specifically. And there's really not that many characters in the film. It's really mainly just about it's a very small content. It's about 2 hours long, so you get a lot out of it. But I remember like maybe an hour and 45 minutes into it thinking, God, I'd love a 3-hour version of this. I just love spending time with these characters, and there's definitely a deliberate pace to things. There's one moment where Centauro and Wakana, they go to visit Kieran Kiki where she lives, and they're walking through this like area of trees, and they're just walking and looking up at the trees very slowly. And Connie said, like, if they're walking like that, they're going to take forever to get there. And I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, this is like, it's more about breathing and enjoying the moment a little bit more than showing a realistic walking pace, you know. So there are those beats where Kawase she's focusing on nature, and there are actually shots, I'm going way off, there's actually shots of nature in this film that look like they were shot on film. I'd love to find out. Apparently there's a really good lengthy interview with her on the Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet. Maybe I should have before I made this fucking video, but the film looks very digital. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautifully shot. But when we just have these cutaways of nature, which aren't very often, but there are certain scenes where it happens, and there's this very tangible grain structure to the image where I feel like that looks like it was shot on film, which makes me think that that's a stylistic choice, which maybe not many people would pick up on, but it's like you go back to nature and you go back to earth, and you know what film is, it's grain, there's texture to it, you know. So I wonder if that was a choice. I'd love to know if that was a choice or not, because it was something I noticed, like, oh, there's grain in those images of the trees swaying, and I just love the beats where Kieran Kiki was just stopping and just looking up at the trees and just waving, you know, very like idiosyncratically. I don't know, I love the character, I love the film. It was great. I would definitely watch it again, and many times in the future. I hope I get the time in my lifetime to watch this film many more times, because it's not one to watch over and over again. Maybe every couple of years, perhaps. But yeah, man, just what a great film. Really, really sweet, and sometimes you just need that, I think. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and call it into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.